Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode number 9.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hey there, it is Adam Franklin from the Web Marketing That Works podcast, joined as always by my friend and co-host, Toby Jenkins. How are you, Tobes?
Good, Ads. Hi, everyone.
This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. Toby and I will take you behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments. We look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. We confess what's failed and reveal the truth about what really works.
This show is brought to you by our new book, Web Marketing That Works, and specifically the bonus 33 free templates that go with it. If you'd like to download them, please jump over to our website, bluewiremedia.com.au/book.
And by now, the book should be officially released in Australia, the US, and Singapore, as well as online. So if you're keen to check out the book, just do a search for it online or head to that URL that Toby said, bluewiremedia.com.au/book, and all the details of all the online and in-store retailers will be there for you. Now, a very big shout out to the listeners that left this podcast a 5-star review. It makes a tremendous impact on our visibility. And the 5-star reviewers were Will Swain, All In Sports Oz, Vanessa Drummond, and Tommy McLean. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone. Much appreciated.
Now, the topic for today's show is YouTube marketing, and we're going to take you through our journey from the very early days to what we're doing now, and we'll share all the hits and misses from along the way. How about we get started?
Let's. Ads, the beginning of YouTube for us, I mean, it's been a massive search engine for a long time and, enormous source of entertainment and information for a long time as well. But in terms of our involvement with YouTube and how we got started from a business standpoint, can you walk us through who introduced us, how we really got stuck into interviewing experts and all that kind of thing?
Totally. So one of our mentors, who we have mentioned on the show before, Mike O'Hagan, who is the founder and owner of Mini Movers, he has been a mentor since the early days, and he gave us the heads up one day of this new device called the Flipcam, and it was brilliant because it basically had one red button on it. It had a little USB cable, USB stick that flipped out of it, and it plugged into your computer, and the red button was for recording videos, and the USB was for uploading it onto your computer. It was just so easy to use, and it recorded high-definition videos. And he showed us this at his house one time, and so we immediately went out and bought one ourselves. And Mike was actually inspired by the success of the Will It Blend YouTube video series by the company called Blendtec in America, and its founder and CEO, Tom Dixon, who was publishing videos on YouTube of his blenders blending through things like Coke cans and Justin Bieber dolls and everything else that you could possibly imagine. And these videos were going viral. And Mike's got a finger on the pulse, and he realized that he needed to be, following in the footsteps of some of these people who were using the platform really well. So anyway, Mike introduced us to the Flipcam. We bought one, and we decided that Mike should be the very first person that we interviewed. So we actually interviewed him after one of his presentations that he gave in town in Brisbane one night.
And that really became a bit of a theme for us, wasn't it, in terms of how we maximised in-person events, was interviewing people after they'd spoken?
Absolutely. It was because it was such great quality content. It was such an easy format to actually interview somebody in person using the Flipcam. It got uploaded to YouTube with no hassles at all. And we realized what a great excuse to be reaching out to people that we meet at events, whether they're speaking or attending. It really opened the door to connecting with so many, what we would now call aspirational contacts. And so if we went to an event, what we would try and do is find a speaker who we were particularly interested in, ideally who was an authority in around the web marketing space, and try to line up. I'll reach out to them via Twitter or email to line up an opportunity, say for 5 minutes and a break, to have a quick interview with them in the hallway so that we could then publish that onto our YouTube channel and also embed that video onto our blog.
Yeah, and I mean, it has been a great way of reaching out, and that's how we've kicked off quite a few of our relationships, really, haven't we? Professional relationships, and particularly those aspirational contacts. It's been a really fun process, I think.
It's been one of the most enjoyable parts for me of the marketing journey that we've been on. And, you know, being able to interview people in person was fantastic, and we could do that at tons of different events. But then it evolved then into realizing that, hey, we've got this thing called Skype, and we can contact or call anybody in the world regardless of where they actually are physically. And a friend of ours, Timbo Reed, who hosts the Small Business Big Marketing podcast, he gave us the tip to buy Skype, or called a product called Call Recorder, which basically records Skype videos that you do, and it's really good. It costs $20, and it basically puts your head and your guest's head side by side on the recording, so it looks like an actual conversation that's taking place. And again, unlimited use, all for $20. So thanks, Timbo, for that little tip.
And how else are we using videos ads?
Well, from off the back of, I guess, the success and the enjoyment that we had from doing the Skype interviews and the Flipcam videos, we were actually over at the Leadership Growth Summit in Atlanta a couple of years ago. And one of the keynote speakers was Kevin Dorm, who is the author of Video Marketing for Dummies. And he reiterated the importance of videos, and he opened our eyes to the possibilities of doing just your basic talking head videos on your website. And we knew they existed, but we hadn't really considered them seriously. But he introduced us to the idea of them, and the value being that everybody that comes to your website gets a consistent experience, and everybody who interacts with your company and who is considering buying your products or services gets the same message from the same people, you know, consistently, as opposed to many customer experiences where if you call up the organization, you get whoever answers the phone and their interpretation and their version of the Blue Wire story, for example. Whereas if you've got videos of your founders or whoever from the organization, it can be anybody really, but if you've got that consistent experience through the videos, you know that the right message and the right points are being made to the prospective customers along the way. So that really kicked off our talking head videos. And so you and I recorded one for our homepage, which also actually led to a very interesting experience, didn't it?
Talk us through it, Ads.
So we had a meeting with a prospective client, and it was very exciting because they were a big client and they were saying all these nice things about the intellectual capital and everything that we were sharing. But at the very end of the meeting, there was this moment where he said, look, I'd love to do business with you, but we're not going to be able to unless you fix the video on your homepage. And we thought, wow, I wonder what his problem with that is, because we've recorded it, and of course watching your own videos back is quite excruciating. Hearing your own voice is just painful. So we hadn't watched our video all the way to the end, but we actually recorded the video, so we knew exactly what we said, and there was nothing that was non-family friendly in there. But anyway, we were intrigued, so we scooted back to our computers and loaded up our homepage, and we actually forced ourselves to watch our YouTube video all the way through to the end. And of course there was nothing wrong with the video when we were talking, but as the video finished, you may be familiar with the YouTube feature where it actually puts in suggested videos at the end of your YouTube video. And so we had actually titled our video, Adam and Toby, Welcome to Blue Wire Media. And what we discovered once we watched that video all the way to the end, and when YouTube actually put up its suggested videos, we discovered that Adam and Toby is actually a series of erotic videos. And so at the end of our video on our homepage, YouTube would actually put up all these erotic thumbnails of other videos along this theme of Adam and Toby. And that was a shock to us, just like it was a shock to our prospective client. That certainly wasn't the look we were going for. And I can totally understand how our prospective client, he knew that it was just the suggested videos from YouTube, but not everybody would appreciate that, and they may misconstrue what our website is actually about. And so the lesson from that was that we needed to disable the suggested video feature on YouTube so that it wasn't presenting all these erotic videos that weren't aligned with what our business was offering. And luckily in the end, we took them down, or we disabled that suggested video feature. We learnt our lesson, and we were lucky enough to win that client's business.
Yeah, no, fortunately all ended well. So I guess, are there any, how else do we use our YouTube channel and our videos as a way of presenting info on our site ads?
Well, we've certainly found that, again, with the Flipcams and the Skype call recorder, things like getting video testimonials from customers or from attendees at an event, it's just been such a powerful way to get those endorsements. But it's actually real. If you got somebody literally speaking to the camera, you can't fake that. People are often have this, they're a bit cynical about written testimonials on websites because, of course, the website owner could just make them up. But if it's literally a person talking to a camera at their own office or at their own business, then it's real, and you can't fake that. And the fact that we went about recording those interviews just made our testimonials page that much more authentic because they were videos and not just written words.
And we also used video to get some of our guys to explain some of the offerings and services that we provided as well. I think from memory that that worked quite well too, explaining how our help desk worked, for instance.
That's right. Yeah,
what they could expect from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got all the team involved to share the story behind their respective roles in the company, and that was a lot of fun. Actually, it's always difficult. You and I have experienced it, and so have the boys on the help desk. Just getting the giggles. I forget what the acting term for it is, but when you just start cracking up every single time, and it just takes ages and ages to get it right, but it makes for a really good bloopers reel. And we do actually have a bloopers reel, but we just haven't been brave enough to post it yet. So I don't know if we will or not, but it's awfully embarrassing.
Another day.
Maybe we'll save that for another day.
Yep. And so for people starting out, what are some tips that they could really take on board so they don't repeat our errors? What tips could they have to get underway with YouTube and filming their own videos?
Sure. So one of the first lessons we learned was not to stand next to the noisy server because the background noise on that was pretty loud. But again, it can't be perfect every time. So if it's that or nothing, definitely film the video and ship it. It's better than not having a video at all. But ideally, don't be somewhere where there's too much background noise. And I know I'm guilty. I'm recording this podcast from my unit and I'm right on Bondi Road, and sometimes there are some noisy trucks and buses that go past, but I do try my best to edit out the background noise where I can. Second thing would be, if you're recording a video, don't do it underneath fluorescent light. It makes the whole video flicker, and it's really disconcerting for the viewer. Thirdly, try not to wear stripy shirts or stripy dresses. Our acting mate Tom Oakley put us onto this one, and I'm sure he won't mind us talking up his Foster's ads that run in the UK. But when we were telling him we were doing some Skype interviews, he said, "Oh, mate, make sure you don't wear a stripy shirt." And I said, "Why is that?" And he goes, "Because if you wear stripes, it goes all blurry on the screen and it's really difficult on your viewer's eyes. You really want to be sticking to solid colours when you're on screen." And I actually went back through some of the videos we'd recorded, and when I had a stripy shirt on, it definitely did. My whole torso went all sort of wiggly and squiggly. So thanks for the tip there, Tom Oakley. More advice, get a decent mic. Again, Timbo Reid, who we mentioned earlier in the show, is the host of the Small Business Big Marketing podcast. He put us onto the Blue Yeti mic, which is a fantastic microphone. But what I have also notice is it's excellent if you're in a quiet place, but if you are on Bondi Road like me, it does tend to pick up all the background noise because it's such a good quality mic. So what we've learnt, Tobes, is if us and the guest are on the same quality of microphone, or else if we're in a quiet place, that works best. Again, another tip is to put your especially if you're just using the camera that's built into your laptop, or even if you're using a webcam for that matter, make sure that it's at eye level or above. You don't want to be looking down into the camera. Aside from being unflattering and having everyone look up your nose, more importantly, it's bad for the viewer because they feel like they're getting looked down on. You really do want to be putting your laptop up on a box or something so that it's propped up and you're actually looking straight into it or looking up at the camera. And finally, the biggest piece of advice once you've actually recorded the show is not to get too bogged down in the editing side of things. That's where you can get really disheartened because it takes so long and it takes a new skill set. But there's plenty of video editors on outsourcing websites like Odesk and Elance. I've used a guy called Cody. He's $5 an hour. He will, edit the video and follow your instructions and put in the royalty-free music and the intros and the outros and everything like that. So don't let the video editing side of things overwhelm you too much.
Yeah, and so what's next then, Ads, in terms of us using video?
Yeah, well, I've been using a product called Screenflow, which is available on Mac. The PC equivalent would be Camtasia. And it costs around about $100. There's very often specials with Apple bundles where you might be able to get it for as low as $20. But what it's really good for is actually doing screencasts and screen sharing. So I can take people through how I use Google Analytics or how I use my email marketing product or marketing software. I can share the screen and I can record that. And I can also record my talking head. So I can be talking to the camera and taking viewers around what I'm doing on the screen. And it's brilliant for how-to videos. So I've recorded my very first one for a guest lecture that I'm doing online for a QUT business school course. And my plan will be to start rolling out more of these how-to videos using Screenflow. And the other thing that's in the pipeline for our YouTube videos is doing some live Google Hangouts on air. And they're really appealing because it's like having your own TV channel. You can basically book in a time on your YouTube channel and it will record a live feed straight through your computer, straight through the internet connection, and then any number of people around the world can tune in and actually watch your live broadcast. And you can screen share, you can just talk straight to the camera. So there's huge possibilities there, and I hope that we'll run our first live Google Hangout in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's certainly an exciting medium, and more and more people are using it. So, video is definitely a way of presenting your content that makes it interesting and available and accessible to others who may not be quite so interested in reading, for instance, or just listening. It helps sometimes having that visual component to it too.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Toby, because more people watch TV than read books, and yet most of us our instinct with web marketing is to just go straight to blogging. But I would really consider going to YouTube marketing as your first port of call, particularly if you don't like writing, and particularly too if you're comfortable talking and presenting stuff to a camera, because YouTube, as you mentioned, is the second largest search engine, and more people like watching TV, a la videos, than like writing, which is more like reading than reading, which is more like reading a blog post. Now, one of the questions I'm actually asked often, Tobes, is what's happened to the Flipcam? And unfortunately, we were cruising
away
around
the dinosaur.
Yeah, it's now extinct. But we were looking around shops for ages because Flipcam had finally worn out and wasn't working properly. So we were very keen to get a new one. But of course, with the advent of the iPhone and the incredible cameras that they have built into them these days, the company that bought Flipcam decided to discontinue making it, which is okay because every day, everyone now has the power of a Flipcam in their own pocket if they've got a smartphone, and the quality that you can get from an iPhone or equivalent is brilliant. So just use the video camera on your phone, and the quality of that is high definition, and it's all that you need to be doing good quality YouTube videos.
Cool.
So that brings the show to an end. Thank you for joining us. The key takeaways, I think, would have to be, look, just get started with YouTube videos. If you're uncomfortable, talking to the camera, try interviewing somebody, or try doing a screencast so that you're sharing your screen and just your voice, and just build up your confidence that way. But really, just get in there and give it a go. They're not going to be perfect at first. Ours certainly weren't, and anybody who's done any sort of video marketing on YouTube, go back and look at some of their early videos. They're not going to be that good. The sound's going to be ordinary. The lighting's going to be pretty ordinary. But you have to go through those early steps to get better and better at doing it. And actually, one other tip that I forgot to mention is, I said don't go under fluoro lights, but I should have added to that. Try and face natural light where possible. That way the light is even on your face and it's not causing a shadow for half of your face as well. But really, get in there, give it a go. You can also get your videos transcribed using a service called speechpad.com, which is very, very cheap. If you've got 1 minute of audio, it's going to cost you $1 to get that transcribed into words. And it's 99.9% accurate. Unless you're mumbling or talking over somebody, then SpeechPad will be able to transcribe what you're saying. And one of the things I've learned from our own personal experience is sometimes when we've shared our expert interviews on our Blue Wire News, which is our weekly email newsletter, sometimes they haven't quite been as popular as I'd hoped, maybe a 7 to 9% click-through rate. But when we actually take that exact video and transcribe it and collate it with 3 or 4 other expert interviews and turn it into an ebook and then share it on the newsletter, then we've had click-through rates up in the 30%. So the moral of that story is, look, do your videos, transcribe them, repurpose them, and deliver that content in lots of different formats, because your audience and the people who take an interest in you will all have different ways that they prefer to actually take in that content. And again, you can strip out the audio file and post that as a podcast as well. So a huge amount of opportunities once you get involved with YouTube videos.
Yeah, and I might just make one quick point, Ads, and that is that a lot of these tools, we'll put them in the show notes individually as well, but a lot of the tools are presented as a part of our 59 web marketing tools, which is available for download on our website, bluewiremedia.com.au/web-marketing-tools. So if you're interested in things like Camtasia, Screenflow, the Yeti mic that Adam's sort of spoken about, you'll find them in that at that URL. So we'll add that in the show notes as well.
Cool. The final piece of advice I'd like to share, Toby, just before we wrap up, is the program called, not even a program, it's an online training course called Screenflow Hero. I signed up for that. I recall it was $97. It was money very well spent because it taught me the basics of how to use Screenflow to edit videos and to edit audio files. And Screenflow does a tremendous amount of stuff, but what Screenflow Hero, this online training by a guy called Jules, what it does is just shows you, the 20% of the product that you need to understand to get, 80% of the results. And it was what tipped me from the point of getting a little bit overwhelmed and not knowing what to do to actually being confident editing YouTube videos myself, editing YouTube videos on Screenflow myself. So we'll put a link to that training course as well in the show notes.
Awesome. So the show is brought to you by Web Marketing That Works, our book, and specifically those bonus 33 free templates that go with it. So jump on over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book. The intent is always to deliver actionable advice for you. So please let us know if you've got any feedback or questions. Our email addresses and Twitter handles, mine is toby.jenkins@bluewiremedia.com.au or @Toby_Jenkins. Ads?
I am adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au or franklin_adam on Twitter. If you enjoyed the show, and we really hope you did, we would love it if you took the time to leave us an honest review and leave us a rating on iTunes. We will give a shout out to all the listeners who leave us a 5-star review. And as Toby mentioned, the show is brought to you by our book, also called Web Marketing That Works, and it should be out in bookstores across Australia, across America, and across Singapore, and of course everywhere online. So if you want to check it out, head over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book, and all the details of the book will be there. So thank you very much, listeners. Until next time, see you later.
Thanks so much, everyone.